Kael Rowan didn't expect anything unusual that night. It was supposed to be a simple walk home, something forgettable, something automatic. The kind of journey you don't even register until you're already halfway through it. The streets were quiet in that exhausted way cities get after midnight, where everything feels paused but never truly asleep. His footsteps matched the rhythm of his thoughts, slow and detached. But somewhere behind him, something else began matching that rhythm too. Not loudly. Not close. Just consistent enough to notice, and steady enough to doubt himself before reacting. At first, Kael tried to rationalize it. Night walks always came with ambient noise, distant people, unpredictable echoes. But this wasn't random. Every adjustment he made was reflected behind him with impossible precision. Slower pace, slower footsteps. Faster pace, same response. Even when he stopped briefly under a flickering streetlight, the presence behind him stopped too, not delayed, not arriving late, but perfectly synchronized. That was when discomfort stopped being imagination and started becoming structure. Something was actively choosing not to reveal itself, and that choice felt deliberate. He changed direction without planning to, slipping into a narrower street where the city felt less maintained, more forgotten. Closed shutters, empty pavements, and reflections that looked slightly delayed compared to reality. The footsteps followed without hesitation. No change in rhythm. No curiosity. Just continuity. Kael felt something shift internally, not fear yet, but recognition that he was no longer testing whether he was being followed. He was testing whether the following had boundaries. And it didn't seem to have any. As he continued walking, Kael began noticing something worse than presence, predictability. The distance never changed. It never closed in, never retreated, never broke pattern. It existed at a fixed point behind him like an invisible equation he couldn't solve or escape. Even the environment seemed to respect it. Passing cars ignored the space behind him. Shadows aligned strangely, as if avoiding acknowledgement. The most unsettling realization wasn't that something was following him, but that everything else seemed to accept it without resistance. Near the pedestrian bridge, the air changed in a way Kael couldn't explain logically. It felt denser, almost layered, like space itself had become aware of its own arrangement. The footsteps stopped again, but this time it didn't feel like pause, it felt like observation without motion. He heard something that wasn't quite sound, more like the suggestion of breath shaped by proximity rather than source. The instinct to turn around was overwhelming, but so was the certainty that doing so would define something that was currently undefined. Kael stood still for longer than he intended, letting silence stretch itself into something uncomfortable. Every instinct told him to confirm what was behind him, to end the uncertainty. But another instinct, quieter, heavier, suggested that recognition might be the real threshold. The street remained unchanged, indifferent. Yet behind him, the presence felt fully aware of his hesitation. It wasn't approaching. It wasn't waiting. It was simply aligned with his decision-making, as if studying the exact point where curiosity becomes consequence. Eventually, Kael resumed walking. No resolution, no confrontation, no clarity. Just movement forward, as if continuation itself was the only remaining option that didn't require agreement. The footsteps behind him resumed instantly, perfectly matched again, as though nothing had ever paused. The bridge faded behind him, replaced by emptier streets, but the presence remained consistent. And somewhere deep in that consistency, Kael understood something he couldn't fully articulate, that being followed was never the strange part. The strange part was how easily the world allowed it to continue without interruption.